We always went that way to baseball.
Well, I want to call the December.
It's December.
It is December. I'm looking at this going, December 4th meeting of the DDA into order. Again, the first thing, before we approve the agenda, I need to modify the agenda. And if we could add, I would like to recommend that we add in as a separate item is our meeting schedule as the next thing. Do that real quick. That would be under number 2, well, under number 3 after we approve the minutes before the treasurer's report. Okay. Meeting schedule. And after the secretary's report, I'd like to put a general subject of Village Center, which we'll discuss whether we want to call it that in the future. That's part of the conversation.
I'm sorry, where was that?
After number 5, it would be the new number 6.
Is that your new name for Canton Street?
I don't know. It's just, we've been told not to use that part of the question. It's like, we're nail that down. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the modified agenda?
I move to approve the modified agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are attached. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? I will. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 6th. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Meeting schedule. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 1st. Would anybody like to be here? Or would y'all like to be somewhere else? No. Y'all want to just move it to the very next week?
I won't be back till mid-month. Well, I'll be back before that, but yeah, we're like maxing out the kids' time out.
Love it. Well, we're going to be meeting with Alex and Lou early, that week of the 7th, I think the 7th or the 14th. Do we want to push it out as late as the 15th? And if we need a special meeting, we can do that?
It works for me.
15th or the 8th? I'm just hitting the
15th.
Tuesday.
There probably won't be a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a meeting if you don't want to.
We need a meeting.
Okay.
Let's do the 15th.
Yeah.
If that's okay? And we're going to talk more about the board retreat, but please put that down as far as scheduling for December 11th. That's next week in the morning. Have an idea to look at, yes.
The only thing about the 15th, you probably need to find a different room. We're here for committee at 5. Okay.
Or we just get done by then.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Good.
You're set up with the same stuff, right?
Well, she needs the room at 4 to get set up.
With, okay.
Three to five.
We can find another.
We can shift it up, yeah.
We can go earlier. You want to go? That's fine.
2:30 to 4.
Yeah, why don't we do 2:30? Can y'all do it 2:30?
If they have to have it at 4.
Okay.
And then what was the next meeting?
The next is December 11th. It's next Tuesday. We haven't set a place. Got working out some details. It's for the retreat.
So our meeting's 2 to 4, correct?
2 to 4?
2:30 to 4:30.
2:30.
2:30. 2 to 30.
Max. 2:30 to 4.
Okay.
2:30 to 4.
Yeah.
All right.
December 11th will be done by 1:30 at the latest.
When do we start?
We can talk about that. We can talk about it now. What time would y'all like to start on that retreat? We can meet here. Ronnie, you want to open up that?
Yeah.
What, bad?
Yeah, that whole morning is bad for me, but yeah, I mean.
I have something that's come up too. And I mean, I may be able to be there a little later, but,
I'm good any other day.
Um,
Is that what you have? Is that what you said?
That's when Nikki's around. What?
Thursday?
She's got the whole day blocked off if you
Yeah.
want to do any
But
other
a
time.
bunch of folks, I didn't bring it all in, but a bunch of folks, some other people couldn't do it in the
Afternoon? Oh, you can't do that
Yeah,
afternoon.
the
You couldn't do it in the
afternoon.
afternoon after 1:30. Weren't you 2:30? Or you were 2:30? 2:30. Those are the only days she had? I mean, can we check?
What was the other day she said?
In
The
the past,
next two
last.
days, remember, we have that webinar in here.
Right.
Oh, I was wondering, I needed to clarify about that, because that's been bouncing around my schedule, and I couldn't remember. It- so
12th and 13th from
It
9
is,
to 4.
it is 2
12th
days.
and
I thought I had it screwed up.
I thought it was 13th and 14th.
I have 12th and 13th.
Oh, really? I better,
12th and 13th.
Yeah, I have 12th and 13th.
Well, I'm glad to hear everyone else's
Okay,
schedule's no
at-
better than mine.
at what
It's a
time?
webinar, so if you are watching it on television,
I better let.
screen.
Is it consecutive, or is it two different? Is it just a repeat, two
No,
different
No,
days?
it's two different, it's two different agendas.
Okay, what time? 12th and the
That is from
13th?
Noon to 5, right?
Noon to 5.
Noon to 5.
Jeez.
Again, if you want to come in for a couple hours, or we can probably get the agenda out, you can see what topics are covered.
That'd be
So,
great.
Why don't we do that? That's on financing?
Yeah.
Okay.
VP finance and
Can't record that, can we?
They may have it.
You can sit here with a camera.
Online, usually you're able to get webinars after.
There's probably something Dan's given about 1,000 presentations on, but it's a primer, more of a primer.
Which one is it?
CDFA is putting on a webinar
On
on
finance?
public-private finance, and,
Yeah, they have a lot of those.
yeah, so we've just reserved the room, a bunch of people can jump in and watch.
They're usually pretty good. I'm not signed up for that one, nor am I presenting at it.
I have to look for your name, but, yeah.
Caught up on your
RBA is
continu-
actually
The
doing it
RBA
with
is
us, so they're going to
people,
be,
yeah.
so we kind of joined, that was that thing, we did join with them. Okay, well, I may be sending out, instead of wrestling it down, let's see if we had, all right, so that's Wednesday and Thursday. I thought 11th was good.
I'm sorry, it was, but something got scheduled over that for me.
And there's a problem going into January, correct?
Well,
Which we
it's
lose
just,
anyway.
they've changed their contract with the EMC offices, and so if they go in January under the new contract, Florida GMC charges Sonny EMC for the meeting, where they don't currently. So I guess we could talk to, what's his name?
Next Tuesday,
The guy
the 18th in the morning, is that?
Well, this has, if you could ask me to have some flexibility on that, would be great. If not, one of the thoughts, I mean, I guess I'm having right now is, when I got some feedback from folks on what we needed to cover on the retreat, the idea of really a mission statement, I think, we talked about a short little version of, your elevator pitch of what we do, so we talked about doing that back in the last retreat, and that's kind of evolved, and I'd love to have everybody involved with that, but maybe we could, with whoever's there, work with her to try to articulate that, and then run it by whoever's not able to be there.
Right now, the only people we're short of are me and Lonnie.
Yeah, and Rich, we're down to 4 of us.
It's on the 11th.
Uh-huh. You could come later?
I probably can come later.
Later meeting.
So what time is the range?
In the morning till 1:30.
Okay, I could probably be here by 10, and then, for, almost 2 hours.
That's great. Really?
Yeah.
Without choking, I don't want
Yeah. So, I mean, if I was here from like 10 to, okay.
Is that the same range you could?
Probably.
Okay, so,
There's a chance that I can get someone else to help.
When are we starting, like 9?
My
Yeah,
wife's
start.
having an epidural.
okay.
The 11th.
You
At
better.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm getting advice to take it easy. Lonnie. He's my...
Yeah, no,
We should maybe go to the work in our DDA, room.
Okay, so it's going to be in the DDA room?
Yeah.
Where?
Just check
so much for,
I'll be there quick as I can get there.
okay,
Okay.
excellent. And I'll send out, and we're going to kind of jumping up a little bit. We'll come back to the board retreat.
Let me get one other schedule item. Nancy, the next meeting was the mayor's breakfast.
Yeah, it's go. The 19th is our rescheduled committee at 8 a.m., and that's our usual meeting, so they pushed it up to Tuesday, and I guess it didn't go everywhere it needed to go, but that's not good.
So the 18th?
I'm good.
3
Yeah, I'm
o'clock
good.
on the 18th.
So this would be the meeting I'd have with the mayor, so, let's see, Lonnie, who was with me last time?
I was there.
You were there last time, so
Me too.
we'll switch it up.
Yeah, who else wants
It's
to
been a
go?
while. Charles, you want to join?
I'll go. That's on the morning of the 18th.
Okay, you been in a while? Okay, all right. Okay, so David and Charles join me in that. Ralph, don't let me forget you got January. So
You said 8?
this is the 18th.
Ralph and I will just sit at the next booth.
That's right.
Kinda.
We're about that.
Is it still at the same
Yeah,
Jay
they're at,
J. Christopher's Crabapple?
Yep.
There was another meeting. Oh, Lou and Dave and I just popped in. Dave met with Alex and Lou this morning to kind of do the Rotary presentation. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that meeting, we're going to meet with them. My understanding was the second week of January at some point. So we will shoot out something like that just to see where they are. And we'll talk again. That's a later business item. Okay. Treasurer's report. We have money.
well, no, not yet.
Not quite,
We
that's
didn't-
right. I just
we didn't get the big
We are in
deposit.
search of the big wire.
Is
So-
the check in the mail?
No, the
Yeah.
wire's
On the
in
wire.
cyber, it's not even check, it's
Actually-
wire in cyberspace, so. Dan, as soon as it arrives, I'll send this out.
Oh, thank you.
So, I'd give it to you, but I don't have money in the account, so.
You know something?
What I forgot to tell you, Dave.
Now the
Out there.
Wi-Fi.
I'm
I
still
forgot to
waiting
tell
for a
you.
wire I was supposed
When-
to get in December of last
When they
year.
locate the
God.
wire and get it canceled, they will cut you a check.
Okay, we'll
They're
go the
actually
old
gonna
fashioned way.
physically cut a check.
Okay, so we'll probably get a check in the next,
It's probably because our bank account was 15 years old.
something, so, anyway, that's 142,000-ish or
Why
so
did you
should
have to know?
hit our account, so,
Well, that includes the master plan
yeah,
allotment.
60,000 for the master plan
And our
and
annual.
the remainder for our annual budget, so.
Or our kickoff budget.
Yeah, so we got about $1,324 in our checking account right now, and
That's why he's not giving you.
spent about $3,600
I'm not worried
so
about
far
it.
for this fiscal year. So,
We're efficient.
We managed it then.
yeah, we've stretched out our budget.
Secretary's report?
Yeah, I've got a couple things.
Yeah.
I think everyone's aware of it, our grant application. Thanks especially to Stephanie for putting this thing together. It's been submitted, and we should know this is the Tourism Party Development Grant toward the end of this month. Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong. I think
Yes.
this we're supposed to hear if we
Correct.
accept it or not. And the second part of this thing is that we got a very nice recommendation from Ken Davis at the convention in Visitors Bureau.
I thanked him last night.
Yeah, and so I wrote on behalf of all of you a thank you letter to him personally, and went out the old-fashioned way to the commission, your attention, Ken. Thank you for his support.
That's excellent letter, too.
It was.
Yeah, have him
Yeah.
write all your thank you letters.
I know a couple of you guys know that before.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, there's another grant we're looking at.
Yeah.
You're shaking your head.
I found it, and then I got to remember the...
Trust for Public Lands getting behind the canoe route
Really?
in a big
Yeah.
way, in a big way, and that's huge. I know several people on the board of Trust for Public Lands, if that would help.
Yeah, that's a different grant. This
It's a
one
different
was-
grant, but when they come in, they bring so much.
yeah.
What is it that the canoe route? That
Yeah,
you're talking about,
basically,
river?
they're talking about extending the Appalachian Trail down
The golf.
to the Gulf. Isn't that
Not that much, yeah.
which, as strange as it sounds?
Be kind of cool.
Well, then we'll
When
lose
TPL
our,
checks
lose our
in on-
tag of having it start here.
Well, yeah.
Where will it come, I mean, how could that help us?
It could be part of something bigger.
Yeah.
So it'll go along the river, or?
And the last time they got involved with buying land, they got Newt Gingrich just as he was leaving office to allocate a lot of money, so that's why they got so much land. I mean, so they do things
Yeah.
well.
Okay, but, and if you could figure out how we can
I
work
don't
with
know,
them.
I mean, it's just something to keep our eye on.
Yeah, okay. My husband did the Appalachian Trail.
He through hiked it?
He's a section hiker.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put it through Rob's backyard on the hooch.
Better.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But it's months at a time. But we have another grant, it's $15,000 that we're going after. It has to do with the arts, and we're going to try to tie it again into the master plan. So, yeah, if we could pull.
Anything specific on the arts, or just?
Stephanie, you want to talk to that one?
It's been a while since I looked at it. It's a National Endowment for the Arts. I'm trying to remember. It was placemaking, you know, sustainability, those kind of things, but it had to do with arts and culture. So it could be including public art in the plan, or could be a performing arts center or something like something in
Or an
the
amphitheater,
plan.
for example,
Yeah,
not outside
amphitheater.
of Smith Plantation.
Exactly. I mean, those kind of
Could be,
things.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, just an FYI, since you mentioned art, and this really, I mean, it probably hit me more emotionally than anything to do with reality, but, you know, apparently George Ensemble Theater is being courted heavily by Alpharetta. And since they're redoing, you know, since they didn't really have a city complex, they're able to start with a clean slate and build something that's better than Roswell has on all fronts, you know, and so they can one-up, you know, whatever, a performing arts facility and so on, and then move the performances that occur over there, steal all of them and move them up to Alpharetta. And I don't know, it feels bad. It's kind of like this ongoing thing with North Fulton Chamber. You know, it's like, can you show me anything that comes to Roswell out of this? You know, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, it's great for the region, but I'm a little bit sick of the region being Alpharetta. So I don't know. I don't know what the vibes are, and I don't know that there's anything we can do about it.
Your
But
second point, I wasn't aware of the first part.
it just, I don't know.
You know.
You know, if we want to be the cultural center and the arts center, you know, I'm just afraid that we're going to lose that as well, and we're going to be sitting here with the Hispanic labor force. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just don't think that's the goal.
What is, I mean, do you think there's an avenue to counter, or is there, I mean, what, do you know what could make a difference?
Are they putting it in their new city center? Because the first thing to do would be to find out if they're putting performance space in there. Are they? Or I guess
It must be.
I would think it would
It
have
must
to be
be.
part of
Otherwise,
that.
they wouldn't be going after them.
So we could find out if that was programmed in.
One could make an open records request and find out a lot of things.
Or you could just go to a Rotary meeting and ask them.
I've never been to the Alpharetta
Not
Club. I
me.
walk in
There
and
you
my
go.
kid
Throw me
like-
out.
Right where I
Charles
go.
goes, don't you? Isn't that your
Yeah.
Rotary Club?
I'm in that Rotary Club.
Okay.
Okay, well, there you go.
If not, we'll go and dance around.
I make a motion.
The other thing too is I know the program managers for the,
Well, if we can demonstrate that an arts facility is in this village center, which I believe it would be, I think that's a conversation probably worth having with that sooner rather than later. Because I don't know how fast they're going to be done.
I don't know, it's just Alpharetta. It didn't say what the facility was.
we should
but-
probably be more concerned with going to Encore than, I don't know, we can see. Because they were going to do a black box theater there.
Where?
At Verizon, excuse me, I'm sorry, I used the project name. Verizon.
So they're going to actually have an indoor?
Well, that was the original program. Well, anyway, I'll check into it and I'll see.
Okay.
Okay, we need some, you mean, I wasn't aware of that. so
I mean, I don't want to be setting off a bunch of alarms, but it just didn't feel good when I heard that.
They're
And it's,
aggressively courting other things, so it wouldn't shock me.
you know, that's just a step backwards, and who knows what else is, you know. So, you know, the first thing is, you know, in real estate is you try to keep your existing tenant base, you know, get your renewals, you know, even before you start worrying about what new tenants you're going to get. And if we start out, you know, taking 3 steps backwards, that's not real good.
I'm looking at a press release from the city of Alpharetta that says the mayor, Bill Isle, has put the city center project on a standing workshop item for every future city council meeting. So they're
Yeah,
making
he
it
did that a
obvious.
while ago. It's been-
Yeah, it's back.
I mean, I don't know, you know, where they get the wad of money to do whatever they're doing, but
Well,
there's a lot of exciting things happening up there.
They had a a general obligation bond referendum, and I think that
Yeah,
passed. and I
that's
think they
building
just-
it. I don't know what this.
How much is that for?
30
I
million?
don't know, I could find out, but I
A
don't
bunch
know.
of money.
29 million?
The proposed first phase says they got the new Fulton County Library, 5-acre park, town square, and new Alpharetta City Hall.
New Fulton County Library.
Mm-hmm. Their
Yeah, I
library's
saw
pretty
that.
skanky.
Is Fulton County approved it?
Is that what you said? How many acres?
5-acre park.
It's been in the works. I've
Well,
worked on
it's a
several
5-acre park,
locations.
but it's a 22-acre site,
Oh,
overall
okay.
site, with 5 acres that would be a parkland.
You know, Nancy, I mean, we're kind of getting off a little bit on this, but it kind of comes back to the amount, I guess we can kind of hit it 100 times on here, but, you know, when you've got Alpharetta pouring out that kind of money on every front, it's tough to, I mean, you know, how do we...
Land for campuses, and of course the Avalon
Well, some of it
thing is going to
they
start
had
happening.
pretty blighted land that, you know, I mean, in the same way that Swanee did what they did and Greenville did some of what they did, you know, we're at that point. I mean, we were
Hey,
getting
another
there,
30
but
years they're going to
we're
run out of
not at
land.
that point.
Or money.
I guess they're commercial, I mean, their commercial
It is an
tax
advantage,
base.
seriously, a lot of cities don't
Yeah,
have land.
you know, and their
Well,
CBB,
they're
I mean,
starting
their
fresh
CBB
on
budget
just
is
about
$1.2
everything.
million
They
every
started
year.
with their
Ours is
zoning fresh
$400,000,
when there was
and that's
nothing
purely based
built.
on hotel motel
It's a
tax.
huge
And you can do
advantage
some things
to
with
have to
that.
recoup from a
Right.
Buford Highway kind of feel.
But at the same time, if we demonstrate, and I think there is that will,
They did the whole pod thing at the mall.
without speaking for my colleagues, which I never do, if this project is what we hope it would be, and it's more than our bonding capacity, we recognize that when we go back to the public, we may need to ask for a little more than keeping, you know, right now we know we have about 10 million in capacity without raising taxes. But, you know, it's going to have to show up as what it is. I mean, and I think that's a part of it. But we're in an excellent position to ground lease something to the arts and have them build it what they want.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a fundraising project. And, you know, you have...
Didn't you guys meet with Lonnie, didn't y'all meet with the arts?
We need to refresh that. We need to have some more
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, that may be-
Yeah.
And if you can even
That's
meet
good.
with Ed and
Couple of months,
see
probably.
where they are, because
Mhm.
that's going to be a factor in your...
And get them,
Village Center.
you know, if you feel like getting them in with Bill and Alex to go ahead and do that, that's actually you're finished with the signatures, you're doing good. So we're going after the grant, we're going on to the next item, which is the Village Center, because we're already there, kind of. So maybe you could go ahead and meet with, bring them in with Lou and Alex. Just the whole thing is, I mean, if you have, for example, like that, if y'all want to feel like they need a meeting with them, just copy us so we know who's meeting with them, so we can make any kind of meetings like that efficient. I don't think that'll happen that much, but. First, I'm just going to get the name. I walked out of the room last night and they called it, was it City Plaza or
Yeah,
whatever.
I
I'm like,
yelled from the back. I'm
and
like,
he did
no.
it 3 times, and I'm like, no. So you know, we can't use the word square because we have a square. I mean, how do we want to go about at least
The
putting
Roswell
project
bow
names?
tie.
The bow tie.
Because the roads go like, you know.
Yeah, and by the, got good news, I think, if they talked to, we're bouncing around. Let's go for the name first, and I'll tell you the status.
People might connect it with Jerry too much.
Village, we had talked about Village Center, Roswell Center. What was the other one?
Roswell Village Center, even though it's 3 words, it is.
We have a Roswell Village, so I think that's going to be hard.
It sounds like a shopping center.
Right.
As opposed to just Village Center?
Roswell Center, just,
Who was the man that had the grocery store over there? Funderburk?
Funkhauser.
Funkhauser's Corner. I mean, something like that everybody would remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Of course, all right, that one didn't work.
I don't even know the right process even to get the right, and that's a big, but we do need a name to at least let everybody, when these designs are going out and emails are going out, that we at least know what we're talking about.
Heart of Roswell.
Heart of Roswell, right?
That's what the park's called.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, the
Heart of Roswell what?
Park.
Just Heart of Roswell?
Yeah,
Roswell Green.
let's keep it simple.
We talked about Village Green. There was somebody who was calling
The
it
mayor's
Village
going to push back on anything that sounds too park-like, because he doesn't want us to
Yeah.
promise a park and then put liner buildings.
For the sake of, in economic development, you always have a code name. Why don't we just have a code name and not try to decide on a marketing name
Well,
of what it
only
is
if
and
it's
that?
How about Roswell?
No, but I'm just saying, this isn't something we need to be doing.
The
at
only
a-
thing is,
Yeah.
if we want in a fairly short timeline, say a year, to come back with a bond,
Mhm. It needs to have an
it
identity.
takes so long to get people to understand and to get on board, the sooner it's all.
No, I agree. I've seen that when projects, when you can name it, you can visualize it. I've seen that, and I've seen it work real well. Just for the sake of conversation, since I'm the other thing I'd like to do is to start talking about it in sectors, probably. It probably is a good idea
Okay.
and I'll have a map next time, because it's going to divide itself out well with the different quadrants.
You mean the
Yeah,
design?
Yeah, how the designs work.
North, south, east, and west.
And that'll help some with that, too. Maybe it's north, south, east, and west, or maybe it's City Hall, Canton Street side, or something like that. So as we're doing
That's
that.
great. That's a good idea.
I've seen, once you get the nomenclature right, everything else is easy.
Anyway, so.
Pardon?
I suggested to Nancy, as opposed to us just banding about stuff, she has that marketing group
Yeah,
together
that's
that
just-
works with her, who's, you got professionals on that team, can consider all kinds of things to come back with a recommendation for us.
Tell them we
That's
want
great.
some,
Henderson Shapiro, right?
No, it's actually they're under the RBA umbrella. They were started out as the branding and marketing group that I dragged into being a committee, and then.
But it's interesting. That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, no, they have helped also, but it's a citizens committee.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Charlie Feehan, it's Jim Vitale,
Oh, okay.
June Holder, Julie
And they're running the
Dreyfield.
visioning
Yep.
process, so you.
Well, we met with Steve to talk about how we could jointly
Yeah.
leverage.
I think to
That's a
introduce
great
them to
idea.
that venue,
Mhm.
because we're out here by ourselves.
I like that
Separate
idea.
from
Yeah.
that
Okay.
whole branding and marketing visioning. Let's get it into that
That's a
process.
great
It's got
idea.
those 7 committees, and
great.
there's 25 or 30 or 50 people involved, and
I'll contact
so.
Might be an
it gives a-
opportunity
it
to
gives a-
cross-pollinate some. so
Yeah,
that'd
it
be
gives a
good.
focal point for that group, because they're going through vision statements, mission statements, all kinds of things. So I think we can, if it comes out of it, we got a big support group, rather than us being here and somebody cocking their head saying, what, did those guys come up with that?
This probably should have come up in the secretary's report, so we'll just backtrack a second, but it has to do with that. We met with Steve Stroud, and David he's taking and running with the web design, and we're trying to see how we could work on an agreement with possibly utilizing resources that they have on staff that we wouldn't be able to have on our own. And we don't have anything to report, but it was a good meeting, and they are doing all this visioning and imaging and branding that we'll be able to leverage off for the DDA. And our website will reflect the style and substance of kind of what they're doing. So we'll be separate but connected. Okay. On the Village Center, you met with Zach Henderson?
I did. I just, and no, there's no follow-up for that. He's going to get back with me. I'm emailing him the link to the city's website so that he can print out other versions of this. He continues to be in contact with some of the members of the original group that put it together. The city transportation department was very cooperative in getting me some information, so I just wanted to let people know that I met with him, and he's looking and thinking about it. He feels very strongly, so.
Well, just so you know, there's been a now moved to the second round of discussions. Remember, I had a meeting with Dave Young and David Cleary from the Rotary Group about meeting out on site and looking at the move. And then I went about 2 weeks ago to the Memorial Day Committee that had its first meeting, of which is President-elect on that committee now, to begin the discussions. And both transportation guys were with me to present to that committee, same process, where we were going, what we were trying to do, and so forth. And it was well received there. And so the agreement out of that was that Dave Young and that committee would then now take it to the Zacks and the West McCanns and the original group that put that whole thing together.
This is perfect. This is just the way to have it work. Because
Yeah,
if Zach
so we're
can
not
start-
approaching Dave, the Memorial Day Committee is doing it, so.
I think that's.
Which would be we're down to the ground level now, so I expect that to happen probably in December. So,
And Dave met with Lou and Alex. You want to tell them the kind of direction you gave them on that?
yeah, regarding has everybody seen the plan? It's the first time I've seen it
Yeah.
today. The notion of a split road plan that provides some green space in between, as opposed to the X. The X has been.
Do you remember how it kind of went?
I haven't seen it drawn, but that was the conclusion
all
that we
they
came
had
to
today.
after
Is
that
that
first
possible?
meeting.
Remember that
right?
that trash
Oh, here.
drawing they
Yeah,
had?
yeah.
That's all they had today.
Okay.
They haven't taken it, but what they have done,
So they haven't drawn anything solid.
they haven't drawn anything solid, but the
Okay.
great news is they've got transportation on
Thinking
that
that,
page.
yeah, okay.
That's which, at first they were hesitant, so I'm delighted, just delighted that. And then they added this roundabout to the south of City Hall at, Pleasant?
Oak Street, Hill Street.
Hill Street, no.
I mean,
Hill and Pleasant.
Pleasant Hill?
Pleasant Hill. That's where that roundabout is. It's a great addition. They came up with that. What?
It has to be Hill Street
It's
and
Hill.
9.
No, it's not Hill and 9. Hill and 9
Pleasant Hill
is
doesn't hit, unless they're going to cut it through.
Mhm.
They talked about that at one point.
Hill Street. Roundabout.
So I'm kind of confused with what they're doing, because I thought they were just going to take the transportation concept and do the designs and architecture and building types and
No.
things like that. I thought that was what
We're,
they were hard to do.
they are actually working with, because the way it stood, the way its original design is a lot of pavement. It's,
Mhm.
So
what do
here's
we
the
do?
deal.
Where,
So what we were,
God, I can't draw like that.
well, they were working with transportation to actually find a way to bring in, to break up all that pavement.
Oh.
That the way it was a very efficient,
Avoid this look.
yeah, to avoid that, exactly.
Which is really interesting, because this came out of that charrette. That's pretty cool,
I know.
that the idea held up. We're trying to soften it. Basically, so that your experience on Highway 9 would feel a little bit more, hey, Dave, I hate to keep going back to the Faces of War Memorial, but in terms of that leg in front of City Hall, that basically, if you will, the curb moves over about 120 feet. Do you see that as about the same alignment?
The old Faces War Memorial
Yeah.
would be like right there.
Well, it's about right where it is now,
Yeah, so this would be.
So that leg of the road hadn't changed. The
Oh, I thought it
green
did.
space has been created by moving the other way,
Oh,
probably.
Richard Farm.
Yeah, no,
It doesn't move closer to City Hall? I thought it did.
Oh, you're right, yeah, probably, I'm sorry, yeah, it does.
once the Faces of War Memorial moves, that's easy to do.
Right, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like when they really get the thing laid out and a little bit of engineering behind it,
You know,
because
we have-
Lou tends to go off the deep
Yeah,
end.
The city surveyed this in detail, topo, trees, the whole works. So we have all this area surveyed.
Oh, awesome.
And so now we know where the big trees are, where the canopies are, where we would terrace, where we would locate the stage, where the walkways can now go. So we have the base information to go to a design level.
I saw some control, just FYI, I saw some control over near the Faces of War Memorial, so my sense is that maybe they picked some stuff up over there. I haven't seen
Yeah, they
it.
got over, it was heavier here than what we were going this way, so.
So do we need to feed that information, Dave, to Lou and Alex? The topo and the tree survey and all that kind of stuff, so that they don't... Okay, you did great.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're going to tend to just wipe things out and
They're working real
waste
close with
time.
Andrew, and Andrew.
Yeah, they've done a great...
Andrew's the one that was involved, got it to me.
I feel better knowing, too, that there's going to be some ground truthing by DOT on this. We have had unprecedented cooperation amongst departments on this. So thank you, Nancy.
And Steve Asenbrack was a lot involved in this discussion here, so, you got senior leadership involved.
That's good.
And they're even, they mentioned that they're even looking at, he agreed to go look at whether parallel parking would be permitted due to the fact that the amount of traffic flow would cut down so much because you're doing a split pair. So, I mean, that's even a possibility. You've got that now thrown up. It was brought up.
You have to look at it
I mean,
like that's
Alex
gone.
was right. It could have been grandfathered in, but still.
To move.
And Jerry made sure that they knew that he wanted liner buildings on that green
Yeah,
space.
there's the liner buildings with this sort of view corridor going that way through the middle of them, so we shall see.
And Nancy, did you hear the same thing I did? I mean, did he met with like the senior family member left on Smith,
Yeah.
but has anybody made contact with a family member for the park across the street?
He was talking to them about the park, and, we're not contractually committed to talk to them, but he just wanted to make sure that they were.
Right.
Yeah.
My impression was that legally, as long as we keep some of that area park, or an equal amount, there might even be room to swap it with another piece if it wasn't exactly that.
Well, that's good to get a city attorney interpretation of that.
That was my understanding, but to do that, they wanted to talk to the family and just let them know.
Mhm.
The other thing I asked Lou to do was to look and see where the gas station's sitting right here. Was there an option to skirt this road around so that it actually didn't cut through the gas station? So that if we
Save some cost.
save some cost, or if we couldn't reach a good public agreement, they could just stay there and, we could, and be purchased or dealt with at a later date. So that way, at least the infrastructure can stand on its own without having to add in an acquisition.
Do we know who owns that?
I have a name. I bought it about 2010, 2011. Right, no, I bought it at the Highland Market right before.
So 06, 07?
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Is
not
he the operator of the station?
No, but he's
Shouldn't we-
involved enough. I think he's involved in the Luca place. So there's some connection, but I don't know that it's his name on it.
Is this where Clyde gets involved as far as looking at?
Possibly,
I mean, in the
Jimmy Bond
time-
was telling me, because Jimmy used to own the shopping center part. And if you look at the plat, it's two pieces. So there is the chance that you could take the tanks out and still have that center.
Lou, what's behind it?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, so you do have that
That's
option.
interesting.
The other thing is the property owners that have commented on that strip, they would love to see an alley back
Absolutely.
behind there to And when I
Sooner
talked
than
to-
later, actually.
Yeah, and I asked Lou, when I called yesterday about something else, and I asked him if that was going to be part of his reach, and he said absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. He and I, we had talked about that. That might even be important to get in place before the construction starts in front,
Yeah.
so that they can access their buildings. I mean, it's almost to that,
Well, here was my suggestion to Lou and Alex, was to, let's oversimplify it, let's call it 3 phases. Phase 1 would be infrastructure design. which says, we have roads, we have storm, we have plaza, we have the horizontal groundwork in place that meets good design that we like, but as well meets regulatory requirements. We're just not willy-nilly, not willy-nilly DOT, right? So that becomes the first order of business, and then within that infrastructure to begin to lay out some potential uses, building layouts and so forth. And by that I'm just talking about boxes with generalized sizes. And so I suggested to him that I think we need to stop there, then go into this middle phase, which is a phase to say, let's cost out the infrastructure, what kind of dollars are we talking about here, and let's also value the uses. So if we're going to go down the route of a TAD or some other public funding mechanism, we know what the potential value of the improved site is, which is the private side of the improvement, where buildings can be built and so forth. And then the last phase is the artistry, which is all the pretty pictures and all that sort of stuff. And so, just in terms of Lou and them, they would spend all the artistry up front, right? And then we'd say, well, that didn't work. And they were very open to this, saying, let's go through and make sure we get the information we need. We're not selling to the outside world. We're figuring out inside what we need to do to make this economically pencil. And then we'll do our development authority kind of work, which is the costing and the valuing. And then everybody's saying, okay, now we see how much is this going to cost. We can talk about sourcing. We've stacked our financing layers in terms of bond and matching grants and DOT and whatever. Whatever we're going to do to fill that gap. And then council says, well, okay, I like where we're going. Then move into the public marketing phase and education process.
And all those, when we're talking about form, that was one of the things I was like, yeah, of course. We're talking about form so you can switch out the mix of uses that you, as things change, and trying some different scenarios, I think that's going to be, with today's technology, yes.
Something that dovetails in with both of those that I think would be, I'll go ahead and, as a follow-up to last week's meeting, I've had discussions with Paget with Richard Paget at Huntley Partners, and Rick Paget, Rick Paget, and they have done, and also with Ken Bleakley at who does these kinds of studies. I'll go ahead. Ken Bleakley is the one who did Founders Square deck feasibility TAD study a few years ago, as part of that hotel zone. He also did, I wasn't aware of these, that he had done these two, and then he also worked for the city at the northwest corner of that 400 as part of it, and was looking at a TAD analysis on that with those apartment complexes. I know Ken, so I called him and spoke with him. He's both of the consultants kind of have their stock models, and then you can kind of fill in with as much. I think that working it exactly like what Dave Schmidt is describing is really good. It does play. You can very quickly play in with some mixes. We need to think about what mixes, kind of keep the juice going.
Well, Huntley, I know.
And then Huntley has, and then, go ahead.
The flavor of the two firms, what's the difference? Because I know about Ken's work. I've read, Huntley looks very impressive.
Yeah, Huntley, I don't know enough, and I think that maybe that would be a next step, but it sounds like we're going to get to that middle step pretty quickly, because for this group, costing and looking at mixes, you're going to have to kind of hold us down not to do it. I do have a joke that applies to this, though. Do you know what the initial CCIM behind someone's name means? They're fixing to put too much density on the site. Because they always look at these spreadsheets, but they don't. But we can do this one more thing, and and it doesn't work. One thing is, I think it is important to let the real estate minds do it, but not to overanalyze. The joke there is to not overanalyze. My sense is that Paget's maybe a little bit larger, more sophisticated firm. Done plenty. He's done Fort Mac. If you look at their web, I sent a website link out to several people, to Dave, Ralph, and Monica. And then Ken is probably a smaller firm. I was a little bit hesitant in that Rick said he doesn't like to work on an hourly basis, and at this point, we probably need somebody that would. And Ken offered it out of the box, but that's just...
Why would you not want a project price?
Because right now, I think that in the sequence of what he's describing, there's going to be another phase that he's going to describe that'll probably be where you come back and refine things. You don't want to go all the way down the road and be doing real sophisticated TAD analysis and demand. I mean, if he gets into demand, you are spending huge money, but that first up front is very quick. If we do it, we need to do it exactly like what we've done, where we've controlled the consultant, like what we're trying to do with Lou.
Well, Robert Charles Lesser.
I mean, that's a big
You know
one.
what you get?
This was just two people. Phone book's full of them.
Is that report, that feasibility study for that hotel done? Is that a public? Who requested that report?
My understanding is that he was working for the city, but it was to address some
I
issues.
think it's in the Dropbox.
Is it?
I just did studies
They
and
did
analysis.
somewhat of one for the SEDP. We asked them to
Blakely did?
evaluate that. I don't know if that's who did it, but I know, I guess.
You had,
I'm sorry.
Kyle Talenti did
Yeah.
analysis on 3 sites. It was a separate thing from the SEDP, but it was presented in a public meeting, so I don't think it's a state
Yeah.
secret or anything. It's just not part of that.
I think these are fine people. I think there's probably others that we could talk to. I think that having someone who we know or that is kind of a known
Did
quantity.
you guys work, I know you've worked with them, and anybody who wants to jump in, but to define the scope that we'd like to be talking to them about?
I think that we should do something like that. I think we ought to narrow it down to 1 or 2 and then define the scope. I think we ought to set the pool of people we're going to talk to, narrow it down, and then, just like we did with council, decide who we're going to go with, and then sort of step in.
Part of this is for the purpose of developing our financing stack, which is a function of delivering on the cost and executing. And another function is what's the economic halo, which is a little bit more of a, what's in it for the city on a greater basis and people who live in the area and so forth. There's 2 different focus that this can come out of.
I discussed that more with Rob. I think that halo is really important. The other thing, too, is very early on, I think we need somebody who is not just going to tease us about this. Either we have a catalytic project or we don't.
Exactly.
I don't see, we're not building the Peace Center in Greenville where, this is something different. This is something that feels like a nice road project. Is it a catalytic project yet? I don't know, but it could be if it's properly handled. So we don't need analysis so much as at the front end as we need a consultant that will really...
They can measure, like, job impact, opportunity. I agree.
And just say, this feels right. I've done this in 3 other little cities that are like this, and,
Yeah, that's not holiday. That's not what they do.
Well, I know. Do you know Ken Bleakley?
Yeah, he does.
He would, he'd rather not do my sense, anyway, that's my experience, but I don't know that many financial people like you do. I think that's important to say, because if we start this thing off wrong, it's not going to get better.
That's the part of this that we applied for the tourism grant for. So it's 15,000 match. So that's kind of what you're working with as far as money.
For
Economic feasibility.
For the tourism product development grant. It's a one-to-one match.
Well, we have,
Well, maybe-
we have a total of 60 for this project. 40 is designated to the designers, so we have 20.
That last part that I just put in there is editorial, that's just a personal feeling, I just want to make sure, I just want to...
But I think they, if we're going back to the public at any point with the bond that exceeds what, raising taxes, if you don't show how it's going to benefit financially, and it's more than a halo effect, and we need a...
Both of these people are really impressive.
On the outside, I've been talking to Steve Stroud in many conversations about thinking outside of the box on all this, and Steve recommended that we meet with Ralph Pepper about just his experience in business and relocating plants, et cetera. So we did that yesterday, and Ralph has set up a conference call that Steve and I will have next week with a guy from Wilmington, North Carolina. And he said that of all of his moves, of all of his investments, everything, he was most impressed with this group who has set up a committee. At that time, it was a committee of 100 people, business. They were rich people, developers, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, anybody and everybody who was somebody, so to speak, in Wilmington who would benefit, let's call it the halo effect of this growth. So, and part of that, which has always been my push, is that we've got a group of people in this city who have lots of money who can step up and either donate, invest, whatever. And that was part of the thing that these people had. So having said that, is going back to what you're saying, is the project may not be, quote, feasible in a sense of a bond, but if it, or a public supported bond, but if we could set up this group and they could come in and whatever, donate, invest, be a part of this to get it back to a manageable part, then we've got something, even though it's, it's way out there, it's pie in the sky almost thinking, and dollars. If we get the group together, because this project would have such a halo effect, as such, then it may change the scope of things. So hopefully here shortly, we'll have some more information about another piece of the puzzle that could help.
I got approached a couple months ago by a group that's living in the Camp Street townhomes back behind that is very interested in Randy Schultz and stuff.
Yeah.
Very interested in key investment parts they can play and, to be private capital with this deal. So they proactively came to me and says, what opportunities might we have? So, so that's people who are aware. You're talking about people who probably are unaware right now.
Right.
Right.
Educated would be participatory.
Right.
So,
At the risk of being on my bandwagon again about getting the word out, I mean, I know what you guys are doing. I know how much work is being done. Most people have no idea. They know you started in January and they haven't heard anything. So to the point of, I think those steps in a web page would be phenomenal, and I think the city would link to it. And I don't know how soon all this is coming online, but as you come to your first year anniversary, we've got to do the outreach. Got to do the outreach. It's build that support from the get-go. And bring people in on it.
And a few strategic press releases.
There may very well be people in there who would help build an art center that could, and that could change the game tomorrow. And I think, we as a city, I think I would certainly support ground leasing some property if somebody wanted to build something like that.
Yeah.
I think we could absolutely do something like that.
Get the cool crowd.
No, I think that's a critical point you moved to the point. We have our own sort of internally focused process.
Exactly.
We're missing a vote on the external.
Well, so much of what
And
we've
the
been doing wasn't ready for public.
Our
Right.
strong people
Right.
interested in what we're doing.
Well, but there's a lot of people paying attention, and I had lunch with Mike Haddon the other day, and he said, "So what's the DDA doing? Are they doing anything?" And I'm like, "Now, if he doesn't know,
That's really disturbing.
that's a problem." And he's trying to be plugged in. So,
Well, but part of what we've been doing has been so predicated on being quiet.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But now that you're at a
Yeah.
point where
What's
you
gonna
can
happen
say,
with
"Here,
the
okay,"
secret
because
society status?
that initial web splash could be all the things. Here's when we started. here's what we've set up, here's bios on all the members, here's how we've interacted, here are the committees that we have, here's, here's the project we're focused on, right? And one of the projects we're focused on, because that's the only one you really talk about, is Village Center, and here's how all the different parts, and, the RBA Branding and Marketing is looking at naming it, and we've got these many steps, and this is how we're going about it. And anytime you can add transparency, it's that much more positive press that you don't have, that's that much less you have to fight. Because the next thing is, they've already decided what we're going to do. I mean,
You still have your headshots and community relations, and I have bios for almost everybody.
Hey, if you don't write one, we'll make something up.
It'd probably be better than what I'd write.
I can be real creative.
Well,
You might not like to write it, though.
Given where we're at.
He was released on this day. Oh.
Maybe we can deal with it in the retreat.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
But I would say it's probably time for us to develop the rollout plan or execution plan, whatever you want to call it. But it's starting from where we are today to at this point in time. We maybe I'll not be able to put time frames on it, a hard time frame, but at least we can say step 1, step 2, step 10, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And these are all the things that we.
Well, I think as we know the lay of the land as far as where we fit in.
Yeah.
If we're going to do that at the retreat, let's do it a little bit later in the morning, because I see a MEMS is in there twice, and McMillan and Lyon are on here for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, that's a good suggestion.
Referencing that. That's one of the things that when David and I were talking with, and I've
Mims
been
came
talking
off
to
of
Steve
this
Stroud
one.
about how we can leverage
Mims is
what
not
they're
on
doing,
that one
because it is
anymore.
important that we are
Yeah.
not the same, but we, unified at some point.
It's just
they're-
rumor, but I'm pretty
He's
sure.
looking at months down the road, and it's like, how do we go faster, and yet we don't want to get, ahead of ourselves and do it halfway.
Interesting, it jumps in my mind, is
Public relations.
we may want to consider maybe when Lou gets a little bit on paper, a meeting that we could hold over on his back deck over there, that the general, we can invite the Greenville group, if there's anybody in the public who wants to come, but
Yeah.
we focus on the Greenville group predominantly, and this vision, which is probably mostly one of the same.
Why don't we make
There's
that one of
about
our meetings?
220 on that group right now.
Later on.
Greenville group?
No, on the.
Yeah.
Oh, that group.
Do that in February.
But anyway, get an important sounding board
To where we are.
Create some update, probably be ready with press releases out of that, probably, because you think about what Alpharetta's doing with their city center. And I just looked, they've been issuing press releases every month for the past 4 or 5 months. There's something that's out there that says, and they got master plans on it. We're a little ahead of that, but we can still position ourselves to speak to what we're focusing on, the process we're going to take, and so forth.
One of the things that, and I didn't put it on today's thing, but we need a public relations firm that is in position for one for just press releases, and we've talked about using Becky on the RBA for that purpose, for ongoing some stuff. Well, she's good at the writing stuff. It's great.
No one's decided.
Anyway, I think I'm delightful to work with. But working that way, or getting a public relations firm that at least we have a position that knows who we are, kind of as a proactive thing. I mean, the way we talked about, from the legal standpoint, if something went awry or something was misinterpreted or misunderstood or whatever, we have
Media
no
relations,
power.
kind of the media relations, kind of.
We really did, just to have it in place. I don't want it, it's kind of like insurance. I don't ever use that part.
That
But
seems to be where a lot of the old CNNers went. They've all created their own little media relations companies.
So we're kind of on the lookout for the right firm to do that. So if anybody knows of that. You got one?
I have one that puts out a good buzz. I don't know how they are in crisis, but let's compare notes.
Okay.
Barclay Russell's
He
firm
is.
in Fairburn claims to do that. It's a one-woman firm, but she does do crisis management for companies, and she is familiar with development authorities. You remember when the parking deck collapsed at the Centerview building downtown? She handled the press for that. And then another one was that bridge in the Atlanta Botanical Gardens that fell
Oh, yeah.
down. She handled that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether she's like an albatross if you get her.
Maybe we don't even want her to know where we are.
What's her name, Fairburn?
She's in Fairburn, Berkeley Russell.
Berkeley.
Barclay,
Barkley.
like Bishop
Can't
Barclay.
read my own writing on glasses.
Be nice enough there was some, does the RBA know of anybody in Rossville that might have
That'd be
personal?
nice. It would be nice to consider the locals.
We have one in Brookhaven who used to be a superintendent. She's amazing. She's got a whole network of people she works with.
And HSP probably does too. They're probably-
What about, did you say EOS? Is that who you said, Charles?
No,
That's who Julie's been working with. They might be
has
good.
she? Yes, that's what Dave said. I was gonna just Google Roswell PR firm.
Dave, did you have somebody?
He is marketing communications.
Are they local?
Here in London.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
R.J. Clark? No, that's, no, okay, anyway. I'm thinking of the firm that does it for M-Relevance, but they're more
Yeah, they're-
low-level PR, and I don't see them.
They're
as quite-
housing oriented too.
Yeah, and they're housing oriented. They keep a good buzz going for their clients. I've been very impressed with that because,
She is really, her primary clients are home builders.
okay, well, there you go.
Okay, look at EOS. Then we can get a proposal or something, you just kind of get some
Carol.
information. before- I will try to get some information before our retreat, because I think that is something that's kind of one of those hot items. There's just, keeps being, it's, important but not urgent, at the moment. Yeah, it is.
How do you have somebody like
We
that just on
actually-
standby?
Cypress Media Group does that, and they,
I know that.
do you know Randy Watley and Catherine
Yeah,
Hubbard, who used to be on council?
okay.
They
What
live
about,
right around the corner, although their house is for sale.
What about Clyde, what, does, didn't Ogilvy, Clyde Ogburn, isn't he Ogden, Clyde Ogden?
Ogden. I've used Ogden Rittenauer.
Yeah.
I use them.
Advertising, I guess.
I use them for advertising some.
My person is, her name is Shireen Allen, Shireen Melixida Allen, but I'll try to spell that, with New Thought Marketing. She does PR marketing, she has web connections. She's done an economic development site for Northern England, and has a great index of sites, locations, education, things like that. But she's in multiple different PR type projects.
Talk to her.
Sharp as a tack.
David, you're working on the web. Do you guys, I'm pointing to you, Charles, but since we have to cut you out of project other deals, could you and David work together
On PR? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the web is a lot, and we want to get that moving.
I'm going to make one other quick call maybe in a minute to see if there's somebody who is, there was a PR, one of our employees had a sister who worked at a local PR firm, and I'm just not sure where they were. I thought they were local here.
Okay.
But the follow-up is that Dave and I are supposed to work on basically doing like what I did with the feasibility people next month. Okay.
Yeah, get a recommendation for what you think our scope should be on that. I mean, and how quickly they could do it. I think, Nancy's right, and 2 months, 3 months goes by like that.
I think
That's a problem.
this will come out of describing the process we're going to take. And we'll put some meat on the bones with respect to what kind of information we're looking for, what are our goals and objectives out of this, which will get into finance, economics, Halo, all those things.
Okay. Anything else on the Village Center? I think it's going, I think we're moving, I'm real pleased with the process, so, and I think we've got all the controls in place that we were concerned about, so. Board education opportunities, Stephanie, you want to hit at that real quick.
Oh, okay. It's the flyer, I think you've seen it in your email, and it's in the agenda packet I gave you, but it's at the State Bar of Georgia office, which is downtown Marietta Street.
And this is the one, Dan, that you're at.
Yeah.
What, Dan? You thought it was good, but, you know, we went through the 2-day training when we first launched, because nobody had had it. So this is a completely different.
Well, if you'd like for me to critique it, I certainly think my own presentation is worth anybody going to. And the rest of it is not bad. I mean, this has stuff in it that the Fanning Institute doesn't cover, particularly in the board member training sessions. I will say, though, for purposes of what this authority is doing, I almost think it would be a better use of the time to have a one-on-one session like was in that. Did you have a chance to look at the agenda that I sent you today?
No. I'm sorry, I didn't see
No,
it.
it's okay. The Dunwoody and Sandy Springs Development Authorities are having joint authority training done for them with a customized agenda. And for example, they're all, at least in Dunwoody, they have a couple of new board members that are querulous about incentives. So we have a panel with Amy Gerber from Jones Lang LaSalle, Betty McIntosh from Cushman and Wakefield, Jonathan Sangster from CBRE, and Brenda Robbins from Georgia Power. So that, I mean, these are the folks that know the demands of prospects backwards and forwards and why incentives are the way that they are. So that'll do those authorities a lot of good. There's also a module that somebody from the University of Georgia who does cost-benefit models is going to handle, so that they'll have an opportunity to grill him about, you know, what's in it for the community when you do those deals. We're doing Development Authorities 101, MOU 101. What else? I've got something else. I forgot. But in any event, it's a more custom-tailored, a little bit more sophisticated program than Fanning normally does, and that what you see there. But there is good content in this, and if somebody has the time to attend on Thursday of this week, I think it's a good thing to do.
Is anybody available Thursday to go? Charles?
Is it all day?
It's all day, but you don't have that lets you leave.
And yours is in the morning?
It's in the morning.
Yeah.
I got to pick.
This is the customized one for Dunwoody and...
That's on the 11th.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
But then we can't attend that one.
One of the things about it, it's worked out really well to have two cities involved, because they have different concerns and they see things different ways, and that really provided some spark to the agenda.
Yeah.
And it also got the level of attendees up to the point where you could get that cast of all-stars that I mentioned interested enough to go. So it's been, I think it's a good thing. I think we're going to be doing some more like that. Kennesaw and Ackworth will probably want one.
Would it be crazy for us to think about doing it with Alpharetta?
You might learn some things from doing that.
That's interesting. Did you try to?
Sure.
What kind of cost are we looking at that for a group?
If Fanning, are we being recorded?
We're not.
Pardon?
We're not recorded, are we?
We are, but not to be.
We're talking about our.
Board education.
We did that.
What's
Dan,
E-Verify and
you
Save?
want to set that up? E-Verify and Save. Can we just work with Dan on that?
Okay.
It's just more things that we have to.
Let me say a few words about
Yeah.
that, though. First of all, gosh, I really hate those new immigration laws. They put so many new regulations in place, and for the net benefit that comes out of it, and they have unintended consequences that the legislators now know about and don't care about. So, for example, and I guess I don't have a big problem with the affidavit requirements, the SAVE requirement when you hire a contractor, for example. The obligation to get an affidavit and verify immigration status that the general contractor is flowing down those requirements to the subs, I guess I don't have a big problem with that. It's not so burdensome. But the public benefits law is a big pain. It doesn't apply just to cities and counties, it applies to development authorities too. It's intended to catch people who are, taking advantage of entitlement programs and welfare and emergency rooms and all of that, and basically chase them out of the country. But it hits development authorities with incentives too. So, for example, a grant is a public benefit. A discounted rent on an industrial facility is a public benefit. Property tax abatement isn't, and industrial development revenue bonds aren't. But there's a requirement, and it's not a new requirement. It's been in place for 3 years for authorities who provide public benefits to register. And, 99.99%. Last time I checked with DCA, 3 DDAs and 1 county development authority had registered, and that was it. And half of the 500 or more development authorities that we have provide public benefits. Right now, the state's not cracking down too hard on it, but they're gonna. So, we need to register with DCA. We need to have a form of affidavit ready, and we need to keep up with it. Brian Williamson, DCA called me today, and he's speaking at I think it's the lunch at the ICLE program on Thursday, and I suggested that of all the things that he talk about that, because there's the least known about it, and it's going to create the most non-compliance on the part of the authorities. But I noticed in the program materials today there is some printout of some PowerPoint pages. Looks like it was from the GEDA presentation the day that I missed. So it's probably good for the board members to take a minute and read through that, but we'll work out the compliance separately. It's not something each and every board member needs to be concerned about. I'll get down off my soapbox now.
But we'll be keeping up with it. It means that so Lou and Alex will have to do that, sign an affidavits, right?
Yes. Well, it's physical construction that they're concerned about. They're trying to catch builders.
This is designers, so.
Right. I asked that question specifically because, with CDBG, it wouldn't be, it'd be a professional service. They consider, this is the woman, Michelle, at ACCG. She was one of the presenters at the training. Mm-hmm. She said, talk to your attorney. But that they are, saying if you're in doubt, just go ahead and get the affidavit. That's what their approach
is. It doesn't cost anything.
And they're recommending people to do engineering, architecture, just like you would construction. But
send me an email and I'll reply to it. But we've taken a look at it, and it is physical construction that counts. Right. And incidentally, with incentives, what we're doing it's just, again, these guys that wrote the law weren't thinking too hard. So the legal residency requirement is satisfied under SAVE if you happen to be a foreign company, but you get an American employee to go sign the affidavit. You're good.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
So that's what we do.
Yeah.
So do we just need to have a form then in our file so that everybody we hire for anything, we just get them to sign it?
There's no harm in doing that.
It's not that onerous for us. We're not going to do that many.
And they said we need to register we need to have a need verify number that we can post on our website or on the Carl Benson Institute of Government's website. So we have to register for E-Verify, and there's some questions I had when I was looking at it as to who would be the person, the contact. And
does it need to be an officer of the corporation, or can it be like my office manager is our E-Verify person?
I'm not aware of any requirement that it be an officer.
So,
okay.
So
I could just
be a...
Yeah.
You could be designated.
Am I designated?
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Stephanie is designated as our E-Verify
Compliance officer.
compliance officer.
Congratulations.
Do I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a secret handshake that
Let's
goes
eat
along
you.
with that?
So, Mike, let me clarify. We're not going to work out an affidavit with our designers. We're going to keep it when we do it.
Stephanie's going to send me an email, and I'll check specifically, but
Okay.
that's my recollection. You don't need to worry about it. And I think we just said that we're going to make everybody
Yeah,
sign
why not just
in.
make everyone, we don't do it.
Use a shotgun instead of a
We're
rifle.
not going to sign that many on an annual basis anyway.
Yeah, I'm protective about small businesses. All that stuff.
You can put stuff like that in your bid package, so when they get it,
They know.
they know.
Okay. We will do that.
You had mentioned in your email about also talking about the conflict of interest thing.
If y'all want to.
But that's actually our next item, and there's no one here, so we could...
Well, I don't also, excuse me for interrupting, but I don't think we should go into executive session to discuss conflicts.
Okay. That was going to be, there's something we talked about bringing up that would require executive session, but what is it required if we have no one here?
There's no obligation to go into executive session.
Okay.
Just remember, if you start talking about specific property, and it could find its way into the public minutes, so you might want to choose your words carefully.
Or not.
Or not.
That's where you use your...
I'm a big
your
believer in
project
short
names.
minutes.
Okay, yeah, we are. We share that. Well,
I need the secret squirrel code.
Can we speak about, again, I guess, we're talking about Double Eagle project, and the component that had a residential separate, being sold to a separate entity, an assemblage that may or may not go with retail, a retail shopping center.
Let me give you my thoughts on all that. And I'm...
Was our explanation good?
Well, I'll know in a minute, because I'm going to tell you what I think based on what I think I know. I might be wrong. I mean, I might not be understanding this correctly. So let me just take this as, rather than dealing with any particular board member, an almost hypothetical situation. So hypothetically, we have Groveway, which is an overlay district. We have Project Double Eagle within the Groveway overlay. And it has three components: traditional single-use retailer, apartments, and proposed office. How am I doing so far?
Proposed office or retail?
Well, then I better change this email.
It's changing, yeah.
All right. Hypothetically, we have a board member whose employer is a joint venture partner with a couple of other companies and a local authority, not this authority, serving as the master development entity. All right, I suspect that joint venture's interest is in multifamily because the partner is a housing authority. Correct. Would that be a good assumption? Okay. So here's what I think the conflict of interest analysis is. Of the three land uses, multifamily is one of them. Now, the joint venture, I assume, would be concerned with less than all of the apartment acreage. Does it control all of the acreage within Project Double Eagle that's apartments, or only part of it?
The authority doesn't. Say that again. The authority doesn't. The housing authority doesn't own any of it.
Well, if you're the master developer, you're master developing and you don't control any...
Another project. The Double Eagle is...
Totally separate.
It's totally separate.
I told you I would need some clarification.
It's
Well, now, this says it's in... Is Double Eagle in Groveway?
They're both in Groveway. Groveway is an overlay district.
Groveway's 600 acres. The subject thing that you're talking about, a third of a mile from Double Eagle. They were physically separated by...
Well, this says joint venture partner with blah, blah for the housing authority's 13 acres in Groveway. But so that 13 acres is outside Project Double Eagle.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
They're a third of a mile separate.
That was Charles' GPS.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but, the analysis, though, is pretty much the same. I mean, it depending on the facts. Check me on the facts. So I would assume that a multifamily developer a third of a mile from Double Eagle would view apartments being constructed within Project Double Eagle area as competition. All right? So there's a conflict. What about the other land uses? If I am a apartment or multifamily developer, the amenities nearby are part of what gets residents in the apartments. For example, the Town Brookhaven development with the multifamily on top of some of the buildings. I mean, the real concern there was that you build a multifamily and they'd be looking out on a gully with nothing there. So nobody would go there. And because of that, the existence or non-existence of the retail is important to both the multifamily developer within Double Eagle and the multifamily developer outside of Double Eagle. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Office, same thing.
Anybody who owns real estate.
Office, same thing, because the apartment dwellers may very well go to work in the offices.
But wouldn't that cover everything?
See, that's the slimy thing about conflicts of interest. Remember the discussion that we had last time about the Jekyll Island Authority and the deal down in Effingham County where there was a railroad between the land that the authority wanted to buy and the land that the board member either owned or bought. I don't remember which right now. So the thing is, the potential for conflict is clearest when you're comparing multifamily to multifamily. It's not as clear when you're saying there's a potential conflict between the office and the retail and a multifamily developer, but it's there. So what I think is, and I've been thinking about how to handle this, and here's how to handle it that's best for me. What I did just now was to describe to the group the reasons why there are conflicts of interest concerns. What I would like to have is to somebody send me hypothetically a list of arguments or reasons about why there's not a conflict of interest, and let me look at them.
You want to do that?
No,
You got it.
no. I don't think it'd be appropriate since I'm already conflicted out on this one. But I do have a question. At what point does it become de minimis? In most impacts that you do, like when you're planning, if you have over here at the project that's a third of a mile away, if you have 300 people living there and you have less than 1% of those, statistically you could make the case that less than 1% of those people could work in an office over here because there's enough employment center, and you could just look at a dispersion model, and in my mind that becomes de minimis.
Let me answer that in a two-step process. First step is for me to read you the law. This is the safe harbor for conflicts of interest. You might not have a conflict, incidentally, without steering into the safe harbor, but I think that's more theoretical. I think in reality, if you don't try to take advantage of the financial safe dealing safe harbor, you're wide open. So you can have a self-interested transaction if you're a director with the authority, provided that any interest or involvement by such director is disclosed in advance to the directors of the authority and is recorded in the minutes of the authority. So that doesn't take account of de minimis. It's any, right? So it needs to be disclosed and put in the minutes. That any interest or involvement by such director with a value in excess of $200 per calendar quarter. Incidentally, this is an extraordinarily dumb law that was added at the last minute of the session 3 years ago to one of Jeff Mullis's bills, and he accepted it because otherwise he wouldn't have gotten his bill passed. But $200 per calendar quarter is published by the authority one time in the legal organ in which notices of sure sales are published in each county affected by such interest at least 30 days in advance of consummating such transaction, which is why we don't have to be running ads now. We're not about to consummate a transaction. But that quantifies the conflict, $200 per calendar quarter. 3, that no director having a substantial, there's your substantial thing, substantial interest or involvement may be present at that portion of an authority meeting during which discussion of any matter is conducted involving such organization or person. So we're on thin ice there already. But I'm going to tell you what substantial is.
What's the root for all this?
I'll tell you what, consider this a workshop. I'll tell you what substantial is in a minute. That no director having a substantial interest or involvement may participate in any decision of the authority relating to any matter involving such organization or person. So we have no quantum at all, any. We have $200 a calendar quarter. We have a dollar figure. and we have two conditions that relate to substantial. So, a substantial interest or involvement, they thoughtfully provided a definition, which the General Assembly doesn't always do, means any interest or involvement which reasonably might be expected to result in a direct financial benefit to such director as determined by the authority, which determination shall be final and not subject to review. So, we could lay the facts on the table, the authority could vote, could decide that it was not a substantial interest or involvement. And if it's not a substantial interest or involvement, then you're able to participate, meaning vote, you're able to be present, but you're still under 1 and 2, 1 being disclosed and put in the minutes, and 2 means you got to run a legal ad. None of this protects you from being pilloried in the press.
Running an ad is like advertising to be crucified in the press.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, actually, though, that hasn't happened. This happens a lot when you have bankers on the board in a community where there's only 1 or 2 banks and they're all trying to do business with the prospect. So you can be cautious, it's the right word. You can be opaque to some extent with the wording of the ad, but you do get your name in the paper. It is connected with the authority. It is connected with the conflict. But so far, it hasn't attracted a taxpayer suit any time I've had to do that.
Is it an ad or a legal ad? In the
It doesn't say. Normally, they'd go in the legal ads.
Where nobody will see them anyway. It's just free.
Well, it depends on the timing. You know, I've had to run ads as a regular ad to meet that 30-day timing requirement. But generally speaking, you're right.
More like a
If you
statement.
did it in the,
Could you do that? Could you put an ad and put us all in there, and it would just be it almost sound like a statement?
put it in the Daily
Don't
Digest.
look at your sheet.
I think that a court would take a jaundiced view of that because the judge would think you were playing with him.
John, this view.
I mean, because you could argue that every single person in this room will benefit from retail being developed on that area. If you own
Well, since
a
Ralph's
home.
property's closer than mine, I'm going to wait until he bows out, and then I'll start
You
worrying.
should try to get a railroad track between you and development.
I mean,
Does Hogwaller Creek count?
That will be a 4-lane highway.
that really does get, I mean, I definitely will have some help of making the argument because, I mean, my thought is, we all are here in order to make the city better and benefit, and by living here, we're all going to benefit.
Well, you sound like somebody who, if she lived on Jekyll Island, should think she belonged to the Jekyll Island Authority, but the Attorney General doesn't think so. I agree it's ridiculous. I mean, the law requires you, for example,
Folks, Ralph Bradley, come tell me.
there are qualifications for being a director of the DDA which have to do with residency, for example. Or city development authority, citywide, you got to live in the city. County authority, you got to live in the county. So, and you know, the courts have said if it's specified in the law, it ain't a conflict. So that's okay. But this whole thing is a judgment call in each and every situation. Just like we were talking about when you save affidavits, what folks normally do is to play it safe. Get the affidavit or recuse yourself.
Well,
Okay.
from a legal standpoint, what's the repercussions? I mean, if worst case scenario, something happened and all of a sudden somebody charged us with whatever it is you get charged with, what could happen to you?
My partner, Kevin Brown, teaches this part of the course when we do these presentations, and he believes in fear-based marketing. So there's some pretty scary stuff in there. You know, the consequences spelled out in the law is the potential for being removed as a director for violating the code of ethics. There is the potential for losing your immunity, your governmental immunity for acting as a director of an authority. I think you'd have to be doing something really egregious before that happened, but it's a theoretical possibility. But you know, another possibility is that some taxpayer or competitor, somebody who got a contract from us, filed a suit to set aside the contract on the grounds that it was tainted by conflict of interest and inequity should be set aside. And they'll allege all other kind of things, too, legal contract, personal liability, yap, they always do. But reputational risk is the big one, because that's the kind of thing that you just don't know how toxic it is to have your name in the newspaper and the people saying bad things about you, which are 100% wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, that, in the world we live in with, ever since Oprah quit, they're looking to fill space. And Channel 2, honest to God, if anybody will stand in their driveway and go on camera, they will interview them.
When Gene Walker was the director of the chairman of the Development Authority of DeKalb County in that town, we're not being recorded, are we? In that town Brookhaven project.
We need to be cut off.
It's got nothing but hair, and it's incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't feel right. You know, sometimes
The problem is, it's going to stay there. It's kind of like the car lots, you know?